Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you from Yahuwah the Father and Yahusha our Mashiach, his voice. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our mighty one is one Yahuwah. This is Brother David coming to you again to bring you the first fruits and the Feast of Weeks. We're on the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. How was your Passover last night? Ours was spectacular. We ate, we drank, and we were surely merry. We roasted our meats on the fire. We ate bitter herbs. We had a special unleavened bread that was prepared for us. We went outside and we observed the supermoon last night. They call it the worm moon, at least the Indians do. And we blew the trumpet on our feast day. We followed everything that our ancients have done. We're rediscovering our heritage that was stolen from us. The righteous race is beginning to arise in the last days, and we're taking back our power. We're not followers of sheeple anymore. We are like the Bereans. We check everything, don't we? Well, the first fruits in the Feast of Weeks is your next feast day. The first fruits is connected to the Feast of Weeks. From first fruits, you begin your count to the next feast. Do you know that Jubilee said that even Noah observed the Feast of Weeks? Did you know that Jubilees also said that the children of Yasharal will forget and will not find a path to the months, to the Sabbaths, to the feasts, to the Jubilees? Brothers and sisters, we have found a path. This is why last night it was a time of rejoicing that we were on Yahuwah's time. Remember, when you're on his time, even nature will line up. Let's begin. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 9 to 12. Verse 9. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, verse 10, speak unto the children of Yasharal. Do you see that word Israel there? That is a corruption. It is not a transliteration or a translation. It is just a total replacement. This is why you must learn these processes for yourself, so you can check on them. Now he said, speak unto the children. He's talking about seed, bloodline. He named us Yasharal. And say unto them, when you be come into the land, which I give unto you, who has to give it to you? Yahuwah. And shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. Can we do this? We have to follow the criteria, correct? Okay. First, you have to come into the land. Are we in the land? No, we're in the lands of our captivity. Then it says that you have to reap a harvest. We don't have land in the promised land at this moment in order to reap a harvest. Then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. There's no tabernacle. There's no temple in the promised land. We are not there. You cannot identify who the Aaronic priesthood is. So this you cannot carry out. But there's a people in the land today. They say that they are Israel. Who brought them into the land? Did Yahuwah? Did you see the Mashiach come in the 50s and bring them into the promised land? No. Then how did they get there? It's called the Balfour Agreement, an agreement between the Europeans to give them the land. Do they have a harvest? Yes, they do. How do we know that? Last year, they stated that they had to adjust the calendar, add a 13th month, because the barley harvest did not come out ripe. There is no statute in the book, period, that tells you to adjust any calendar or to add a 13th month. Do you understand? This is why we study the law. The law reveals sin. Sin is transgression of the law. Can you see it? Then you have to bring the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. At least they're supposed to, because they're in the land. If you're posing, you got to go all the way. Oh, there's no priesthood with them. They can't identify the Aaronic priesthood. They say that they are Jews. The word Jew speaks of one tribe, Judah. Where's the other 11 tribes? When he comes to gather us, he's going to gather the northern and the southern kingdom together and bring them into the promised land. What have I revealed to you, brothers and sisters? Simply by reading verse 10 alone. They're not the people of the book. When you read the book and you study the law, you can see it right away. Verse 11. And he shall wave, who's the he? He is the priest. Shall wave the sheaf before Yahuwah, to be accepted for you. On the morrow, after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. After what Sabbath? Is it the regular weekly Sabbath? Is it the feast day? It's both. It's dual in nature. It's called a high holy Sabbath. The Feast of Unleavened Bread lasts 7 days. When you read Leviticus, this one comes directly after the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So which day is it? There's 2 days no servile work can be done. The first day, no servile work can be done. The 7th day, no servile work can be done. So which one is it? The Europeans will tell you it's after the first day. Why do they do that? Because they're trying to cement their doctrine in the book. What doctrine is that? That Jesus rose on a Sunday. Are you with me? How were we deceived all those years to believe that Jesus rose on a Sunday? It wasn't even 3 days and 3 nights. How did we get that in our minds that they were telling us the truth? When you're in a strong delusion, you'll believe anything. When you don't check, you'll fall for anything. So it can't be the first day. The first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It can't be the first day because there's a contradiction. I'll show you in the next slide. So it must be the 7th day at the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread that you were supposed to bring the sheaf to the priest, and he was supposed to wave it on your behalf before Yahuwah. Verse 12. And ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf a he-lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto Yahuwah. Do we have to do this? Our brother Shaul told us Yahusha, our Mashiach, was already sacrificed for us. He said, all you have to do is cleanse the leaven from your house and don't eat anything leavened for 7 days. Yahusha is now in heavenly realms, making continual intercession for us. He's got all of this handled. There's no need of a sacrifice. If you offer any lambs or any sacrifices at any time, you have denied the Mashiach. Verse 13. And the meat offering thereof shall be of 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahuwah for a sweet savor, and the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. Do we have to do this? No. Yahusha, our Mashiach, was already sacrificed for us. Yahusha, our Mashiach, is our advocate. Yahusha, our Mashiach, is our priest in heavenly realms. He has this covered. Verse 14, and ye shall eat neither bread, no parched corn, no green ears, until the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your mighty one. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. This statute is forever. But we don't have any dwellings in the land, do we? We don't have any land. We're not in the promised land. We're in the lands of our captivity. So according to all of the prerequisites that you must follow before you get to this point, you can't do it anyway, right? But we have an advocate who is taking care of this in the heavenly realms. Look what it says in verse 14, though. And ye shall eat neither bread, no bread. All right, we're going to address this issue. Is it after the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, or is it after the 7th day? All right, look what it says. You cannot eat any bread. So if it's after the first day, something's wrong. Look on the bottom, Leviticus chapter 23, verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread unto Yahuwah. Listen now. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. So if it's after the first day, then it interrupts this commandment. This came before verse 13, right? This is verse 6. So it can't be after the first day, or else the scripture would be in contradiction. It's not in contradiction. Do you know what the problem is? Men. Men and their understanding of the scripture. Men who try to make the scripture fit into their ideology. So now we understand that it can't be after the first day. It's after the 7th day of the feast, which makes sense. Because Yahuwah told him, you cannot bake any bread. No bread. The first thing you want to do after 7 days of eating unleavened bread is to bake you a loaf of bread with yeast in it, correct? So that you can enjoy and say, man, this is really good. But he says, no, you got to hold off. First, bring my offering. Bring that sheaf unto the priest so he can wave it on your behalf to show that you're thankful for all that he has given you. So you see how easy it is when you study the law and you go line by line, you will always find the truth. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 15 to 16. This is the count to the Feast of Weeks. Verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath. We have established it is the 7th day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That is the Sabbath that they're speaking about. So the next day, after that Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, so you brought the sheaf to the priest and he's waved it on your behalf, you begin your count from that day. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. 7 weeks equals 49 days. Verse 16. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days. So once you hit 49 days, you're going to wind up on another Sabbath, a regular weekly Sabbath. Then the day after that, you add 1 day. For the day after, you have what? 50 days. And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto Yahuwah. Do you do this? No, you don't. Yahusha, our Mashiach, he's got all of this handled in the heavenly realms. Now, I told you before, the Lord reveals sin. Sin is transgression of the law. The law will reveal lies. The law reveals truths. Now let me show you a lie in epic proportion. Let's take a look at IUIC. Brother David, why are you always picking on IUIC? Because they're the largest organization of Hebrew Israelites that are out there today. When you come to this knowledge and you begin to wake up, the first place that you go is to IUIC because you believe that they know the truth. Let me tell you something. The law reveals sin. It also reveals lies. If only I could get you to study the law and Yahuwah's ways, you would see the lies the way that I do. Come down to the 23rd of the month. On the 23rd of the month is when IUIC is going to start their Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They begin their count to the feast from the 9th. The 9th is a full moon, so they count 15 days and they come to the 23rd in the evening, and that's when they start their feast day. On the 23rd in the evening, what happens? It is a dark moon. What does the dark moon represent, brothers and sisters, on the sky calendar? The dark moon represents the 30th day of the month. So if you start your feast on the 30th day, then you're going to go into the next month to end your feast. Are you with me so far? When you study the law states that it has to be in the same month. You can't go into a different month. Right away, you see that they're in error. All right, so let's do the count the way that they would. You see the 24th, that's the first day of their Feast of Unleavened Bread. You are to count 7 days. 7 days would lead you to the 31st. It says the day after the Sabbath, on the morrow after the Sabbath, would be the first, correct? Because, we're trying to link the sky calendar on top of this Gregorian calendar. So it would be the first. That's when they will begin their count. All right? The reason they have to begin their count here is because they keep a fixed Saturday Sabbath on the Gregorian calendar. They're following the Jews, brothers and sisters. They look to the sky for the renewed moon, but they keep their Sabbaths on the Gregorian calendar. So let's see how this is going to work. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, hold it. Didn't we run into a problem? 7 Sabbaths must be complete. They couldn't complete the first week because they've already fixed the Sabbath on Saturday. Are you with me? Remember, it has to fall on the weekly Sabbath. Every count. You count 7 days, and then you're on the weekly Sabbath. But you can't achieve that goal, not doing it the way that they would. So how do they do it? Well, if you're following the Gregorian calendar, the only thing that they can do is to count 50 days. All right, so you count 50 days. You will wind up on May 20th. If you look at the calendar, May 20th is going to be a Wednesday. Hold it. After you count 7 Sabbaths, which equals 49 days, you're supposed to wind up back on a regular weekly Sabbath. Remember, they fixed their Sabbaths on Saturday. They wound up on Wednesday. So right away, you see that they are in error. I want you to do something. Go to their website, IUIC's website. Put your arrow on the high holy days. You're going to see a drop menu. You're going to see the Passover. You're going to see the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Well, you won't see the Feast of Unleavened Bread. They're linking the Passover with the Feast of Unleavened Bread, even though they don't mention it like the Bible would. you're going to see something I believe called the Day of Simon. Then you're going to see the Feast of First Fruits. First Fruits is not the feast day. First Fruits is when you are to come and bring the sheaf before the priest, and then you make your count. The 49-day count, the 7 Sabbaths, the 7 weeks, that would lead you to the Feast of Weeks. Listen what Jubilee said. Noach observed the Feast of Weeks. Listen what Jubilee said. The children of Yasharol, they will go wrong to the new months, to the Sabbaths, to the feasts, to the Jubilees. Why? Because people like the leadership of IUIC are leading the people to destruction. You will find that you will see the Feast of First Fruits, but you will not see the Feast of Weeks. If they put the Feast of Weeks in there, then you know that you have to do this count. And any Berean who begins to study, they will do this count and they will say, hold it, something is wrong here. So instead, they says, let's just not put it here anyway. Go check it out. You'll see it for yourself. Now come back to the 9th. The 9th in the evening, we just did our Passover. In the evening of the 9th, what was up in the sky at this time? The full moon. It was a supermoon. The Indians called it the worm moon. It was bright, it was beautiful, it was close. We blew the trumpet when we spotted it. We started our feast day, Feast of Unleavened Bread, is on the 10th. That's the first day of the feast. You are to count 7 days. You come to the 17th. Then you are to take the morrow after the Sabbath, which would be the 18th. From that day that you brought the sheaf to the priest, and he waves it on your behalf, then you are to count to the first week, because it says 7 Sabbaths must be complete. So you count from the 18th to the 24th, you got your first Sabbath. Now, how it works on the sky calendar, we don't go back to the Gregorian calendar to find these feast days. We stay on the new moon observance, right? So the new moon comes out on the 25th in the evening. Then you begin your count again for the next weeks. I created an illustration to explain it better to you. Let me show you. This is the sky calendar. They call it the Creator's calendar, but his calendar's in the sky. This is for illustration purposes only so that you can understand the count. You see, New Moon's Day stands alone. Then you begin your count. All right, let's start from our feast day. If we were only on Yahuwah's time, this is how it would work. Our feast day starts on the 9th in the evening, which would be the 15th on this calendar. You understand? Then you count 7 days. To the end of the feast, it'll be the 22nd. You see that? That is how we're doing it now. Everything lines up perfect. The morrow after the Sabbath would be the 23rd. You begin your count from there. You have 1 week left in the month once you start your count from from first fruits. All right. So now we have to wait to spot the renewed moon, and we start the count again after New Moon's Day. You have 4 more Sabbaths in the next month. So how many Sabbaths do we have so far? 5. Then we have to spot the renewed moon again, which equals day 1, and then you do your next count. How many more weeks do we need? How many more Sabbaths do we need? 2 more. What day will you wind up on? The 15th. In the evening of the 15th, you are to number 1 day, which would be the 16th, and that would be your Feast of Weeks. It is the only way to do the count. There was never a Julian calendar, never a Gregorian calendar. the ancients, our ancestors, they looked up in the sky to do their count. I know it might be confusing for most of you because we're so busy and so used to looking at this Gregorian calendar. This is all you see every day, and it's the only thing that we know. But we have to change our mind. In order to be on Yahuwah's time, you look up. If you want to be on the devil's time, you look at their calendars. Their calendars are created to lead you astray. Now, brothers and sisters, remember I was telling you about the prerequisites in order to make it into the kingdom. The first thing that Yahuwah says is that you have to love his name. We've discovered his name. Next, he says that you must keep a hold. That's what he says. Hold to his Sabbaths and his feast days, not somebody else's, not the Jews, not IUIC, not the churches. Yahuwah's Sabbaths, Yahuwah's feast days. Where are they located, brothers and sisters? In the sky. So read Isaiah chapter 56. You're going to see the prerequisite to make it into the kingdom. Everyone who's going to make it there has to do it, even the stranger. I will be creating, during this waiting period, I'll create a whole video on the Feast of Weeks to further explain it. Shalom.